Here I hang out with leaders. I'm talking about people who are badass with what they do and how they choose to live. Because to create a life of purpose, freedom, and passion, it all starts with yourself first. Results do not take time, they take courage. And I will be bringing on the most incredible humans with the most radical stories. Humans with courage, vision, and integrity. These people do not conform, they create change. They possess something that inspires us to do more or be more in life. I hope that they breathe life into you just as much as they have into me. Your girl in limitless possibility. This is Taking to Your Lena. Today I bring on a New York-based actress, singer and songwriter who happens to be born legally low vision. No matter what her circumstances or visual disability, it has never stopped her from following her gifts. She is someone who looked beyond any of her limiting beliefs or stories. She shares with us how she made it to working on the drama series C on Apple TV alongside Jason Momoa and Alfred Woodard. She plays the role of a badass warrior called Mattel. So without further ado, I bring to you Bree Klauser.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Lena.
Hey, thank you so much for being here today, Bree. I really appreciate your time. I wanted to get into the heart and meat of your story. So tell me a little bit about what it was like to work on the TV show, because I am a huge fan.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this is like my breakout role. I was pretty much just a theater actor and musician in New York before this, and I saw that they were looking for low vision and visually impaired actors to build this world of where everyone is blind. I was like, wow, when does that come along? So I auditioned through just sending in a tape, which is like this new thing in the industry. Like people don't even meet each other; they just like send in tapes because it's what matters is
that's right.
What you see on camera anyway.
Yeah.
And then they can find out you're crazy later. I sent in a tape, and then they wrote back to me a couple months later and said we'd love to have you read from Mattel. So I was like, oh, must have done something right. And a week before my birthday, I found out I got the part, and I flew out to Vancouver. We were there for filming for like an unreal amount of time. Usually TV is like slam bam, thank you ma'am. A few days on set, hit your mark. But we did like this extensive movement training to create this world for the sighted actors. They had to learn how to not use their sight at all. And a little for me too. Like it's about it's like a different way of viewing the world and enhancing my other senses. And as well, it's like a futuristic world too, where you imagine people are now living in the woods and tribes. You have like a different body language from like our like whatever. Like no, you have to be on guard. A tiger can eat you.
Wow.
So we learned all this kind of movement training before we even stepped on set. For the first 3 months, like up until Thanksgiving, we shot episode 1 through 3, and it was amazing. It was like there were times where it was like summer camp. We went to Vancouver Island and went like way off the grid, and we stayed in Campbell River at a lodge, and it was amazing because it was like the whole cast was there, and we'd hang out at the bar at night. And
amazing!
But then we got to do like fun like things like whale watching. So it was work. It was work, but at the same time, I got to have these like really fun experiences offset as well, and just have this be my first film and television project was just unreal.
How cool.
The
cool is
people I was working with, first of all, Francis Lawrence is like sets the bar for directing so high. He is like so kind, so patient, and runs such a like an organized, well-oiled ship. Like when we would have to work second unit with other directors, we'd be like, "Oh, I miss Fritz. We don't know what we're doing." No, I'll take that back because everyone who worked on this show, I really enjoyed working on episode 4 with Anders. He was an incredible director, a different approach from Francis, but like very, very like organic. And everyone also from the directors to the producing team and all the creatives, they were really receptive to everyone's input from the recurring cast to when like getting scripts and making sure like everything was in line with the characters that were being created to the recurring characters that were low vision. There were only 3 of us that are recurring. I think there are about 9 in the series so far in season 1 that are blind or visually impaired that speak, but 3 of us are recurring. So it's me, Marilee Talkington, who plays Soda Bax, and Jessica Harper, who you will meet if you're catching up in, I believe you'll meet her in episode 5. They really listened to our input about accurately creating the low vision experience. Like an example that I keep telling is we were shooting episode 4 and we're escaping and we're running down the side of like a real hill, nothing CGI, except that ravine. That ravine. I know
the exact scene you are talking about because I was literally like holding my breath like through that whole way. Yes.
But we were out on that raft for real for hours. No potty breaks. No, they would have to like send people on boats with food.
Oh my goodness.
We were roughing it. That's how we bonded. So when we were shooting this one scene and we're running down the side of a mountain real fast, not using our eyes, I was having trouble keeping up because like I have poor depth perception. So to do that is actually challenging. And they were telling me to pick up the pace, and I spoke up and said, well, not gonna lie, if we don't see at all and we've never been down this physical path before, even if we're running for our lives, we're going to be somewhat physically cautious. And Anders, the director, was like, oh, brilliant, you inspire me. And he adjusted accordingly.
Adjusted that. Amazing.
And that is totally why in that scene in episode 4 when we're escaping, you see Baba Boss go, Matal. Because he's like trying to actually help me.
Matal, proceed. What is their intention?
I feel savage intent in the air. Savage and soon.
Down that mountain. But it like totally works for the plot too, because like
it does.
Matal's got to feel out the way. Which she does. Just feel out that way.
Exactly. You know, I remember the first time you came on and I noticed your character, and it was during that epic fight scene where the tribe is coming and you're all just about to get into that fight, and there was just like silence because you were like waiting, but then Baba Voss turns around and he's like, Matal, and then you give like your senses and you're like, oh, I can hear, you know. Oh, that was so cool. And especially because I've trained as a hair and makeup artist, so your character really stood out, especially with the look that you had, your scarring, and then those cool short bangs.
Oh my god,
it's such a good
okay, so Jayla Wallace, I gotta give her a shout out because she my hairdresser on the show, me and her became like besties. What you learn in this industry is you really have to relinquish control, and we're all very as women, a lot of us are very controlling over hair. And she's like, we're gonna give you warrior bangs, and I was like,
ooh,
okay.
I like the sound of warrior bangs.
Yeah, she's like, we're gonna give you and so that was like, I'm like, okay, this is what I gotta do. They pay me to do this, and I ended up loving that hairstyle, and like I still have them underneath.
Yeah, so they actually put it into your hair.
Yeah,
wow.
They shaved Sylvia Hooks's head. We gotta, work for our art.
Yeah.
So, and so then I also had extensions for days, like you see, there's nothing here in real life. I love Matal's hair. I love everything about her look. Like really just helped me feel the character. They asked us like, well, how do you see this character? What does this character remind you of? So when I met with like hair and makeup, when I met with J-Lo, I was like, well, when I knew that she was an empath and the type, like she's not an Esper, but she's an empath. She's like Deanna Troi from Star Trek. So she gave me a Troi mullet. And the scars, they're so cool.
So good.
Having those, I love mine because mine looks like a little Harry Potter scar.
I know.
You look at it, the lightning bolt.
Yes.
The idea is that like each scar is like identifying the person, and maybe that is like the mark of a pre-stage. Like I imagine when she was a very young girl, she was marked because we see a montage in episode 2 where we see Kofun and Haniwa getting their scarring. So I imagine everyone in the tribe goes to that ritual and they're given their unique mark and based on their abilities and what they do and their function in the village. And it's just like
Okay.
the in-depth of the world building of the show is so
Wow.
cool on every single level of it.
Yeah.
And
So congratulations on working on
too.
such an amazing project. I have to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you think that you faced working on the show with having a visual impairment?
Well, working on the show, while I was on the show, I felt like everyone was incredibly accommodating,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of, it was like a crash course for me because I hadn't been on set like
Mm-hmm.
in that like
Sort
we
of
had 200
where?
people in the crew, and
Right.
it's great that everyone knew that I couldn't see any well, so they didn't get mad if I didn't recognize their face. But learning how to, do your marks, they have these things called sausage markers, like which are like little bean bags. It's such a funny
Yeah.
name. But when the cameraman says like, "Oh, you need a sausage marker," and I'm like, "I need a what?" And I'm like, "Oh, sausage marker." So instead of like, especially when you're on like a forest floor, it's hard to see for anyone to see like a little white T or little
That's
mark.
it.
But
Yeah.
instead, there's like a bean bag, and then when you kick it, you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a great stunts team and like real like top-notch safety because we were doing some treacherous things. And I say that
Yeah.
if my mother was there knowing where what I was doing, climbing on the sides of mountains and walking across rivers, she would have a heart attack. But I felt incredibly safe, incredibly supported. And when it came to episode 4 and I know about my I don't want to spoil my moment, I'll
I
say.
know. Yes.
I was like, listen, I don't want you treating me with kid gloves. I am doing this stunt. And they
Oh,
were
wow.
100% on board. My
Amazing.
stunt double, so you see her, I think, in the last second, like getting,
Oh yeah, that bit. I
because
know exactly
they
the
won't
scene.
let their principal actors get beat up. They don't, but unless you're Jason. But yeah, he can handle a beating. But I'm like a five
Yeah,
I'm like
it
a
looks like
five
he
foot
could.
nothing little girl, so they can't. The
Oh
Tali
wow.
Roden is so amazing. She like helped me prepare for that. We did like warrior training by doing cold water
Oh,
plunges at a
see,
spa.
oh my
Like
gosh, I was going to ask you
we
about this. Like, what is
yeah.
the training? What does it take to be
Well,
a warrior? What's the mindset? What's the training that goes into that?
well, just to get it, part of that physical movement training was we did do some like stunt rehearsal, and even though we don't see Matal fight too much, I
Yeah.
would say like her stance and her everything is kind of based in Tai Chi, because when you
Nice.
think about it, she's like feeling the shifting of the wind, and that's all what Tai Chi is. It's this motion, and
Yeah.
always being grounded in that stance that you can at a moment's notice switch.
Right.
And that really helps with the type of stunt I had to do, because you have to, when you're being pulled, you have to be free, otherwise you can like get whiplash in your neck. I didn't know that she was going to get like brutalized. I thought she was just going to
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, she got it. Yeah. I need to do a warning before the
she was
show.
so supportive, and like we became like such good friends. And I'm like,
Amazing.
yo, if I ever become famous, you're my stunt double for life. So yeah, and she looks so much like me. If you look at her, she looks so much like me. We could be sisters.
Whoa. Can you give us a little bit about how you got to where you are now?
So I grew up 30 miles outside New York City. So like we'd like to say the Star Factory. But I was born legally blind with a condition called achromatopsia, which only affects 1 in 300,000, I want to say. And both me and my brother have the same condition, because it's a genetically linked visual impairment that affects my retina. So I have no cones in my eyes, so I see absolutely no color. I'm very nearsighted. I have poor depth perception. I'm photophobic, so I wear tinted contact lenses. This is not my natural eye color, but it still looks like natural. I just kind of look like a doll. But yeah, it helps a lot with shooting outside and being outside. I got these types of contacts when I was 11, before I had to wear like, what I say, big dark Stevie Wonder glasses.
Yeah.
And I used to get made fun of quite a lot for them, because I would have to wear them inside and outside. And I also have a visible nystagmus, which is a kind of an involuntary quivering of the pupil. So for years, I felt like even though I was doing theater and stuff, I felt like I couldn't do television because of that. And I still get discrimination for that. Even now that I like put on the top of my resume that I'm visually impaired, and like the thing, people still say, "Oh, you're not focusing," and I'm like, just read the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just so fortunate that I had parents that didn't treat me like a disabled child. And when I was 6 years old and I went to my first Broadway show and saw Les Miserables, I saw the little girl on the stage and I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that.
Oh, how
I
old
was
were
already,
you?
yeah, I was 6. I was 6 when I did that. And I was already singing then, music is kind of will always be my first love and passion, but sometimes you have to like separate your passion and your career, but maybe who knows, I'm that option is to make music a full-time thing. That's, you don't know where life is gonna bring you.
Absolutely, you never know, right?
So yeah, I went to school for acting. I got my BFA at Brooklyn College, and the rebel I am, and my conservatory program said, "Oh, you're not allowed to do outside shows and take roles." So I said, "Well, I'm just gonna create my own vehicle," and so I started my band, Bree and the Whatevers.
Yes. I love that. Bree and the Whatevers.
Yeah.
I love that name.
We produced home. I did some releases under just my name. You'll find if you look it up, it's called My Cocaine. It's by Bree Klauser. That was like my first EP. That's baby's first EP. And that's all. You can listen to that. Very, very young, vulnerable Bree at 19. That's all on, Spotify and iTunes and all that. But then Bree and Whatever is kind of formed when I met my partner, Dan. That's when that lineup really solidified. And for 2 years, we'd play out together. And we really found this kind of like throwback retro soul sound, really indicative of like Amy Winehouse and Adele, Erykah Badu. So like all the
Sounds amazing.
I really fit in with the kind of the British pop sound because it has more of that soul thing. So I was always like, if I was in the UK, I feel like I would be a full-time recording artist.
Yeah.
But actually, this whole cast is some of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
So
working with Alfre Woodard, she is a
legend, right?
One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Sitting right next to her in the makeup trailer, just watching her go over her lines was a masterclass in itself.
Wow.
And all of them were like, we went to, I got to go to the red carpet, was just like amazing and like unheard of and overwhelming. But it was like a big family reunion seeing Alfre and Hera and Jason and so now I have like all these friends from all over the world.
It sounds like this is almost like such an incredible like dream role. How do you believe in like law of attraction, and do you feel like you manifested this in any way? Is that something you believe?
I do think so, because I'm not one to like sit by the phone and wait for an audition. I'm always like searching and always trying to expand my network of people and connections. And this I didn't even have an agent at the time of when I was cast and auditioning for this. I was hustling. I was going to classes. I was meeting people, and I had heard from the audition from two allies of what I would like to say the inclusion community. Christine Bruno, who is who's an incredible actress who has also made her life's work of advocating accurate representation of people with disabilities and inclusion in the arts. But now she just does her own consulting. So she had referred me, and the casting team of C also found me through a company called Epic Players, Epic Inclusion Company, which is a program I'm actually a teaching artist at. And so they contacted my employer because they saw I was like affiliated, and because that company actually works with performers with cognitive disabilities like autism and Down syndrome. So even they were looking for low vision performers, they went to that company, but they happened to find me there too. So and Aubrey was really excellent in being my liaison. It's really important to have someone speak on your behalf, because I
Mm.
feel like you can be a lot more effective. And I'm really grateful for both of them
Mm.
facilitating my needs. But I think, yeah, that type of manifesting of like just keep keeping keeping the faith and keep going, and but
Yes.
not expecting anything. Like had
Mm-hmm.
literally forgot I sent out that first tape, because I was just like,
Wow.
but I was also used to, like, I had gone up for auditions for low vision roles, and there's always like,
Mm.
oh, but she doesn't look blind. Like really stupid, superficial stuff like that.
That's
Like
crazy.
there's this misconception that like all blind people have blue eyes. There's
Mm.
so many things, like you can give a phenomenal performance, but so many
Yes.
things have to align
Mm-hmm.
to make it happen, because like all it takes is like one person to say no about like the most innocuous little thing, and you
Yes.
don't get the job. Doesn't mean that you
Yeah.
don't build a valuable relationship and make a great
No.
impression if you have a great audition.
Mm.
Like I
Right.
have an audition tomorrow, and I know I'm probably too young for, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a great impression.
Of
So,
course. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fingers crossed, keeping the
Yes.
faith.
Fingers
um,
crossed. Good luck.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, and my mother kind of instilled that in me, of
Oh yeah.
that resilience, which you
Mm.
absolutely need to have in the entertainment business,
I
because
agree.
even now it's like, I have a great project coming out, a new audio drama series with Audible, which is like a new venture
Oh
for them. But after
wow.
that, I'm like, I'm still trying to build off this, and I don't know what tomorrow
Mm.
brings. Like people ask me, "Oh, what are you
Exactly.
doing in December?" I'm like, I honestly don't know. I literally,
Yeah.
some days it's
Yes.
terrifying. I'm like, I don't know if I can renew my rent, my lease, but
Yeah.
it's the life
It's the
you
life
choose
of an
to
artist.
live.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It completely is. I can relate to all of that.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. If you were to give anyone listening today who is an aspiring actor, wants to get into this industry and has, or is differently abled or has low vision, what would your advice be to them?
Don't take no for an answer. A lot of people are going to tell you, oh, you can't do that because you're this, or you're not enough this, or too much that.
Hmm.
Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. And
Okay.
yeah, there may be like real hard limitations you have to deal with, but there's still so much that you can do. And make sure that everything that is in your control is in control. Like, really being on top of your craft, and that all your materials are as professional as possible. And every time you send out a tape, make sure it's like you're putting your best foot forward, to
Hmm.
keep every element that you can have control in control, because so many elements are out of your control.
Mm.
So you just always want to be putting your best foot forward.
Yes.
Um, I have other people in the community, from all over the country. Like I've made friends, and they email me and they say, oh, well, where can I go where they'll look at agents that will look at artists with disabilities? I'm like, why do you want to limit yourself to that?
Hmm.
Why don't you want to be the standout at an agency where maybe you're the only person who has a disability? You're an
Yeah.
asset. That you're an asset in this climate that is now
Of course.
finally welcoming that type of diversity, because for so
Yes.
long, there hasn't been that. And in many
Yes.
ways we are still invisible.
Hmm.
I I was really lucky working on this show, getting to represent
Mm.
people with low vision, but
Hmm.
in still many ways, there's still ways that I am still invisible in that sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, I don't want to get into being too negative, but like
I know. I
trying to
understand.
tell my story
Yes.
has been my mission, because I feel like um, until people watch the show,
Yes.
they don't understand. They don't get it. They don't
Mm.
understand
Yeah.
why do we need a show about blind people, or like,
Hmm.
oh, literally I've heard comments of like, oh, well, they have sighted actors play blind because blind people can't be warriors. And I'm like, that is
Oh
such
my gosh.
bullshit. Yeah.
Of course.
I
Complete
mean,
bullshit.
and we all know the reason why they have to have some sighted actors in the lead roles, because it's
Mm.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you need someone to sell a show. But hopefully one day you can have someone who is with a disability as a
100%.
starring
I
role
hope.
because they've been able to build that reputation. And what
Exactly.
I'm doing, what Marilee Talkington is doing, what all you know disabled performers who are making it and now you're seeing on television and in theater, we're laying the groundwork for that.
Yes,
So
you
that
are.
we can have that movie where one of us one day is the starring role. And hopefully
Exactly.
that story is going to be a story that where disability is an afterthought. Because honestly,
Yes.
like we don't want to be just playing
Of
disabled
course.
stories. We don't focus about they're blind and how hard is it to be
No.
blind. No, they do everything fantastic. They fight, they have
Everything.
sex,
And
they
that's
do
what
everything.
I love that, because I truly do feel it's changing the perception of blind people and gaining such a great understanding for what that could be like, and how, just seeing this world of what, is possible. And they're warriors,
Yeah.
and there's female warriors, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And so cool.
The
So cool
females in
story.
this show, in some way, like especially if you really follow these character arcs, they're a little stronger than the men.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's
Yes,
this
definitely.
vitality, especially you see something brewing in Haniwa and Magra especially. I think she's gonna surprise us. Like we thought she was just the mother being protected by the big strong, but I think she's gonna surprise us. So you gotta watch and you gotta find out.
I cannot wait. Sounds incredible. Bree, thank you so much for being here on the show today. I really appreciate all your time. You are such an inspiring and incredible person for everything that you've been through, and you are just paving the way for so many differently abled actors in this industry. And I look forward to seeing your art and everything that you're going to put out into this world. And
thank you.
Celebrating with your success. And I hope that when you come to London, you hit me up, because we're going to definitely hang out.
And I hope you guys can all follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing a lot of fun behind the scenes stuff. We finally can. It's great. You're not allowed to release all this stuff for years, and then when the floodgates open, you just want to share.
We can put out those pictures. Yes.
Yeah, all those videos. So follow me at Bree Klauser. That's BreeKlauser. And find me on the web. Find me on my website, breeklauser.com. And if you want to check out my music, check out Bree and the Whatevers. The Homewrecker YouTube video will probably be linked below, probably.
Yes, it will be.
That's on Spotify and all the streaming and download websites.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Bree. And hopefully we can reconnect soon and figure out where you're at. Yes. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.